Hey guys, and welcome to the Arena Compendium for the new Goro expansion, where I'm gonna rate each of these cards 0 to 5 stars according to their power level and how often you should rate them and pick them and stuff like that. And of course, I'll at the end of the whole analysis, I'll let you guys know which class I think will be the best in Arena, at least in first glance, and then we're gonna go from there. All right, so let's talk about cards that we already know, and then we will rate some stars for them, okay? So 5-star would be your Windmill Slam Jam. Just pick the card and you're super happy about that, right? So stuff like Fireland's Portal, any AoE cards like Dragonfire Potion, and then Kazakus, right? Like those are 5 stars. 4 stars would be a good card that you barely pass, and it's still a really, really strong card. So stuff like Hex, stuff like Draconid Operative, Obsidian Destroyer, any weapons, you know, those fall under 4-star category. With 3 stars, we're looking at something like, you know, medium, semi-playable, and they're like just good in general, right? They might not do insane stuff, but they're just good. So I would say Chillwind Yeti, you know, Cabal Courier, any Discover effects really, and say like single target removal, like, you know, just lightning bolts and stuff like that. 2 stars would be, you know, a little bit below average. You don't really want to play those, but sometimes you just have to pick them because all the other choices suck more, or you actually need a 2-drop, for example, and, you know, that just sometimes makes the cut. So 2-star cards would be like Garrison Socialite, Murloc War Leader, or Moat Lurker. You know, those are 2-star cards. 1-star cards would be the bad cards, like, you know, they're really, really bad. You don't really want to play them. 1-star cards that pop into mind would be like the Burglebot would be a 1-star, Raid Leader would be a 1-star, and stuff like Dirty Rat would be a 1-star. And finally, 0 stars would be unplayable cards. You do not want to draft them because they literally do not do anything, okay? So Ancient Watcher falls under this category. You know, 1 mana 1/1 Grimscale Oracle falls under this category, and yeah, those are the bad ones. Good, so let's go ahead and start with the Druid cards. The first Druid card we have is Tortolin Forager, 2 mana 2/2, Battlecry. Add a random minion with 5 or more attack to your hand, and this is random, so it can be from any class. And a 2 mana 2/2 that draws a card is really insane. And for Arena, sometimes getting a random minion with 5 attack or more is probably better than your deck anyways. So I would rate this really highly, and you really want to pick this. I'd say this is a 4-star, 4-star card, and it's just a 2/2 that draws a card. Like, really good rate compared to Novice Engineer, right? Next, 3 mana 5/1 Elder Longneck Battlecry. If you're holding a minion with 5 or more attack, you get to adapt. So adapting this with health would be a 5/4, and you could actually make some crazy stuff like a Super Magma Rager, right? An 8/1 could be a thing. And the requirement of you holding a minion with 5 or more attack seems pretty easy to do, especially with all the cards that we see. There's a 5 attack or more synergy with Druid that we're gonna see, right? So I think this is reasonable, but at the same time, the bonus is not that significant, right? If you get +1/+1, you know, it's a 6/2. Divine Shield is pretty good, but at the same time, a 5/1 Divine Shield compared to like a Scar Crusader is not that far off. Like, it's not that far off. I think there's enough bad things that this isn't an insane card, but still a good card. I think a 3-star would be a nice assessment for this. Next we have the Verdant Nullneck, 5 mana 5/4 with Battlecry Adept. This one is very, very good because yeah, in a lot of Arena games you actually have to choose which version suits you the best. Like, sometimes you really need a Booty Bay Bodyguard and you want to taunt this up, you know? And if you don't need it, well, you can just choose between the other 2 choices, and the 2 choices are probably just going to be better anyways, right? A 5 mana 6/5 is pretty sweet already, right? And that's just the standard. So I would rate this 4 stars, and I think we'll be pretty happy to pick multiple copies of this. Alright, next card we have Earthen Scales. 1 mana spell, rare, we're rare now. Give a friendly minion +1/+1, and then gain armor equal to its attack. So it's really good for stabilization. But if you don't need the health, it's only a 1 mana give something a +1/+1. I think this is not really an Arena card, it's more of a constructor card where armor is actually makes a lot of sense against like aggro and whatnot. And in Arena, the health doesn't really matter too much. And a 1 mana card that gives +1/+1 and does not cycle itself seems pretty bad, right? You compare this to Power Shield, and Power Shield seems like miles ahead. So I'm only gonna give this like, you know, a 1 star. It's playable, but it's pretty bad, and I don't think I want to draft this. Evolving Spores, 4 mana spell, adapt all your minions with 1 mode. So if you choose like health, then all your minions get +3 health. If you choose Divine Shield, then all your minions get Divine Shield. So it's very like the it's like that GVG card, right? Enhancer Mechano, exactly. This is exactly like a Enhancer Mechano, but it doesn't have the body, but arguably it has a better effect because Enhancer Mechano, we know that if you get taunt on Enhancer, it's pretty bad. You can still get taunt with Evolving Spores, but if you don't want taunt, you can get 2 other options. And I think this is actually not bad because it's relevant if you curve this out, right? If you play a 2-drop and a 3-drop and they both survive, you play this, it's actually pretty relevant. Give them all Divine Shield, it's okay. It's pretty relevant late game too because you turn your 2-drops into a little bit better, but it is 4 mana. 4 mana seems a little bit, you know, expensive for this effect. If you compare it to, the Enhancer Mechano, that gave you a 3/2 body along with, you know, the effect, right? So it's okay. It's a good finisher, and if you need a finisher, you need this card, right? So I would say it's a 3-star. I think it's reasonable. Like, it's reasonable. It's not a bad card by any means, but 4 mana is a bit expensive, in my opinion. Next, we have a Shell Shifter, 4 mana, 3/3, but it's not a 3/3 really, because you get to choose to either make it a 5/3 stealth, or a 3/5 taunt. So you have to choose a Senjin or a new, a little bit bigger Panther, right? So that's really the choices. I think this is like fine. I mean, you're never unhappy with a Senjin in your deck. And the upside of this being a 5/3 stealth, I think 5/3 stealth is like much better than a 3/5 taunt. Because, you know, 5 stealth is really aggressive. You can actually trade upwards. You can kill a 5/5 with this 4-drop, and then you're happy. If you kill a 2/3 with the 5/3 stealth, you make a Magma Rager, and that's pretty sweet. So I think most of these options are pretty good, and it's pretty versatile as well. Pretty hard to imagine you find anything else that's better than this. But at the same time, the power level of this card is not quite there. I still give this... I think I would give this a 3-star, though. I think the power level is not there. The versatility is good. But I think there are a lot of rares which are better than this, like your Argent Commanders and your Streamwalkers and whatever. So like, yeah, I want to give this a 3-star. I think it's still a very good card though. Next we have a 5 mana Living Mana. Transform your mana crystals into 2/2 minions and recover the mana when they die for 5. So if you play this on curve, you make 5 2/2s, and then you lose all your mana if your opponent doesn't kill them. But you get 5 2/2s. I think this is reasonable in Arena. Because if your opponent doesn't deal with your minions, then you get 5 2/2s. That's a 5 mana 10/10, right? And if they do, you get your mana back, so it's fine. I don't think this is ever irrelevant in Arena. And late game, this is actually insane, right? Like turn 10, if you're top decking against your opponent, this is actually a 5 mana fill your board with 2/2s. It's like kind of like a Nixia, right? So it's a very good late game card as well in that case. It's obviously very susceptible to AoE, so Consecrations, Lightning Storms, you know, that would make it feel bad, man. But this is good enough that I'll give it a 3-star, and I'll be pretty happy playing this in my deck. Giant Anaconda! Alright, well, 7 mana 5/3, and if you have a minion with 5 or more attack, then you got buns, hun. Wow, how far Voidcaller has fallen, right? Voidcaller is a 4 mana 3/4 to summon the demon from your hand. Like, that is miles ahead of this. This is still not a bad card though, because, you know, in Arena it's really hard to get transform effects, right? And usually there's a lot of minion combat. And even if your opponent, say, flame strikes this or whatnot, you still get an extra card out of the deal. And we know from Voidcaller that these effects are really, really powerful. The downside of this is, of course, is a 7 mana card. But a 7 mana, say you're playing a card that says 7 mana, deal 5 damage, and summon a minion from your hand. Does that remind you of something like Fireline's Portal, right? So this could be a Fireline's Portal at best. And at worst, well, you're not going to have a minion to summon. And then you're going to be pretty sad of this. Although, if you draft this card, you're probably going to have a deck that kind of works with it, right? So I'm going to give this a 3-star rating, not a 2. If you have nothing, it looks really bad. But, you know, the fact that it survives like AoEs and whatnot, I think this is actually not that bad. And finally, we have the Druid Legendary Tyrantus, 10 mana 12/12 with can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So it's another different Deathwing for Druid. And if you want a game ender, now this is a game ender. I feel like it's very difficult to remove this minion. You actually need to kill this off, which is very, very difficult to do. Or you will actually have to play something like Deadly Shot or something, right? I think this is a very good game ender. And if you slam this, it's really hard for your opponent to deal with. So I gotta give this 4 stars. In Arena, this is actually just a straight bomb. Like, how do they deal with this, right? So, this is a good card. Alright, and those are the Druid cards. Very cool, very cool. On to the Hunter. We've got the Dude Macaw! 1 mana, 1/1. Beast. Battlecry adds a random beast to your hand. This is just a better web spinner, right? Web spinner used to be insane in Arena, and this is a Battlecry, so you can play the beast immediately. Yeah, this is just insane, right? I would just snatch this up every single one I see. I think this is actually just a 5-star. Like, this is actually a 5-star card. Babbling Book, Swashbuckler, these are actually auto picks. And if you don't pick this card, that's crazy, because it's a 1 mana 1/1 that cantrips into something else, right? Very, very strong. Next, we got the Crackling Razor Maw. 2 mana 3/2, adapt a friendly beast. We know from Ungoro, there's gonna be a lot of beasts. A lot of neutral cards are actually beasts, right? They're either beasts or elementals. So this adapt is gonna come up relatively often. And if this actually works, it's actually +3 stats, right? So think of this as like a 2 mana 3/5 if it works, or a 2 mana 5/2 if it works, or even a 2 mana 3/2 Argent Protector. Give your beast a Divine Shield, right? Like, that's actually insane. What's the fail case? Like, what's the worst case situation? It's a 2 mana 3/2. So this is a 5-star card. It's definitely a 5-star card, because in Arena you actually need 2 cost minions, right? So this fills that category, and it has extra upside. It's relevant late game. It's relevant early game. Auto pick, right? Super good. Next, we have a Grievous Bite, 2 mana spell. Deal 2 damage to a minion and 1 damage to adjacent ones. So this is a very good example why Maelstrom Portal is a 5-star card, right? Because Maelstrom Portal is so insane. It deals 1 damage to everything and you still summon a minion. For this one, instead of summoning a minion, you get 1 extra damage on 1 minion and you don't get to deal 1 damage to everything. Plus, you also don't get the spell power totem. So this is still good removal, but it's nowhere near Maelstrom Portal ranking, right? This is also good to deal with the early game minions that Hunter kind of needs to do, right? When you draft Arena and Hunter, usually you just want to go face, right? Well, with this card, you can have a little bit more, interaction with your opponent. So that's pretty good. I would give this a 3-star. I don't think it's insane. I think it's fine. We've got the Raptor Hatchling, 1 mana 2/1 beast that death rattles into a 4/3 raptor, which is also a 1 mana 4/3, right? Did I say that? I said 1 mana 4/3, right? Okay, cool. Really good, because Hunters actually are the class that uses 1-drops the best. With Steady Shot, 1-drops are actually really good, because every damage you deal to the opponent is actually like pure damage, right? Shuffling a 1 mana 4/3 into your deck actually doesn't seem that good, really enough, right? Because when you're playing Arena, you actually want to curve to your late game in the late game more. But another way to look at the 1 mana 4/3 is that imagine it's a 3 mana 4/3 that deals 2 damage to your opponent's face. That's right. If you play the 1 mana 4/3 and use your hero power, it's effectively that, right? So a 3 mana 4/3 that deals 2 damage to your opponent's face is pretty fair. So once again, Steady Shot makes this card really, really good. So I will rate this 4 stars. I'd be pretty happy just drafting this card. Next, we have 3 mana 3/3 Terror Scale Stalker, Battlecry. Trigger a friendly minion's death rattle. So basically, Princess Huhuran made a little kid, and the kid is better than Huhuran, actually, right? A 3 mana 3/3 having this effect is just way stronger, right? However, how often are you gonna get a death rattle minion in Arena? Not exactly often. And if you don't get it, it's a 3 mana 3/3, which is going to be 3 mana 3/3s are not exactly what you want, right? Like, that's a little awkward. So I'm gonna rate this a 2-star. I don't think it's that good. It's kind of like the same tier level as like a Murloc War Leader or whatnot, right? And if you have a million death rattles, then obviously insane, but usually that's not going to be the case. Tovir Warden, 5 mana 3/5, Battlecry, draw 2 1-cost minions from your deck. Now this is a pretty crazy card if it works, right? Great reload mechanic for those more aggressive, mid-rangey Hunter deck. It's a 5 mana 3/5 Ancient Lore, and it doesn't really matter that it draws 2 1-cost minions from your deck, because you know, if you drafted 1-cost minions, they're still cards, right? So effectively says draw 2 cards. And I argue that it's even better that it actually draws 1-cost minions. So you exactly know what you're getting and you can play around it. So I would, like, the minimum is 4 stars already, right? And if it's 5 stars, then you have to have a deck that's like really, really good. So I don't know. This is really close between 4 and 5. I don't think this is an auto pick though, because it does depend on your deck. So by that reasoning, I would make this a 4 stars. But this effect is really strong. And if you actually trigger this, then like, yeah, it's actually nuts. Stampede! 1 mana hunter spell. Whenever you play a beast this turn, you add a random beast to your hand. Now this is this is insane, right? Like, okay, so what happens in arena, right? You usually either run out of gas as a hunter, so you run out of cards and you need a steady shot, or you just want to push more damage. If you're pushing more damage, it doesn't matter. This card just irrelevant. But if you run out of gas and you actually need to fight on the board, dude, this card is insane, right? You Stampede, you only need 1 beast to trigger it, because once you play that beast, you're gonna play another beast, and that actually triggers it as well, okay? Like, that is actually nuts. Very similar to Lock and Load from back then, but why Lock and Load wasn't that good is because it gave you a hunter card. It didn't give you a hunter spell. It only triggers off of spells, but it doesn't 100% give you a spell, so it doesn't cycle itself. This cycles itself, right? You can actually just keep on just playing whatever your top deck, right? It's like, play a beast, draw a card, play a beast, draw a card, play a beast, draw a card. All for the cost of 1 mana. Like, this is an auto pick. 5 stars. For sure. Like, auto pick. Dinomancy. Now, this is a weird one for Arena. 2 mana spell that changes hero power into a 2 mana, give a beast +2/+2. Usually, this is not what you want to do in Arena, because, I mean, you're a hunter, you want to smash your opponent's face in. You might not even have a beast to trigger this hero power, but when you do it, it's really good, right? Obviously, it's really good. It's like a Mark of the Wild that you can do repeatedly, right? And that's a really powerful effect. But I still don't think this is good, because you're changing one of your win conditions to another win condition, right? And like my question is why? You know, why not just play a 2 mana 3/2 and, you know, have it go face and just win by that instead of being cutesy with this? So I don't rate this really highly. I think it's a 1-star card. I'm not a big fan of alternate win conditions, especially on a hunter class that it's so good already, right? You pick hunter in Arena because of steady shot. And finally, we have the legendary for hunter. Oh my god. 7 mana 9/9. Swamp King Dread. After your opponent plays a minion, attack it. Now, if there's ever a bomb, this is a bomb, right? So your opponent, it's effectively play a 9 damage to your opponent's future minions. And if they cannot play 9 attack worth of minions, this hits their face for 9, right? Like, that's pretty good. It is not as strong as dealing with, say, you know, 5/4s or 4/3s and stuff like that. So your opponent can literally just go like, play a 5/4, and then play a 4/3 and then trades with that, right? But at that point, are you sad? Like, are you really sad if your 7-drop just traded for a 4-drop and a 3-drop? That's actually great. And that's the worst case situation. The best case situation, it's turn 7, your opponent is holding a War Golem or something like that, like Boulderfist Ogre, and they can't play that, right? They can't actually play that. So this is like a Slam Jam, Windmill Slam, 5-star for sure. Does lose to your occasional Pit Snake or Emperor Cobra, but you don't need to worry about that. You can just lose to that. Alright, next up we have some mage cards. Start with the comments here. 2 mana 2/3 Arcanologist. Secret Guy. 2 mana 2/3 draw a secret from your deck. This is a very, very strong card. Oh my god. 2 mana 2/3 draw a card. Once again, you don't really need to care what type of card it draws, as long as it draws a card, right? So this is really, really powerful. Right? Obviously you would need a bunch of secrets for this to work, but secrets are not actually a bad thing, right? And of course, in Arena now, there's a lot of secret mechanics such as Medee's Valet, there's the Secret Runner, secrets are just fine, right? So this is a very good deck. And once again, the fail case situation of this is that it's a 2 mana 2/3 Okay, that's the fail case. So yeah, it's really good. I'll give it 4 stars. I don't think it's an auto pick, but like compared to Fireline's Portal, right? This is not an auto pick, but this is really high up there. Flame Geyser though, it's a 2 mana, deal 2 damage, and add a 1/2 elemental to your hand. The elemental costs 1. So you can actually look at it a different way, right? It's a 3 mana 1/2 that deals 2 damage that you could play a little bit earlier. Now this is a little relevant in Arena because the 1 mana 1/2 elemental actually helps. There's a new mechanic in Goro that if you play an elemental in the previous turn, something else happens. So there's like payoff cards that make this a little bit better. And what's the fail case of this? Well, the fail case is that it's a 2 mana deal 2 damage, right? So it's kind of like a lava shock. That gets you a 1 mana 1/2 activator for your other cards. So I think the fail case is actually okay. And the fact that this can go face is actually good, right? There are spells that can't go face and they're actually significantly lower, but this can actually finish a game. So it's actually pretty relevant there too. So I would give this a 3 star. It's a good card. I'm pretty sure you won't be unhappy to draft this, but I mean, you're not super crazy about this either. Shimmering Tempest, 2 mana 2/1 elemental with Death Rattle. Add a random mage spell to your hand. Babbling Book's older brother basically, and we know how crazy mage spells are, right? So this is basically a windmill slam jam. Like I would rate this 4 stars. This is just insane, right? Random mage spell is probably better than the card in your deck, because drafting Flame Strike, it's actually a penalty. You actually don't get it that much. And there are just so many good mage spells. Every single mage spell is just good, right? Like, the worst case is you get a secret. Okay, fine. It's a 2 mana 2/1 that drew a card. It's a Loot Hoarder Plus. Very strong. Mana Bind, 3 mana secret. When your opponent casts a spell, you get the copy of it, and it costs 0. This is fine if you actually need a secret. I think you play this not because you want the effect, it's because you actually want more secrets, right? So you drafted your Kirin Tor Mages, your Arcanologists, your Medivh Valet and stuff like that. You want to pick this because, you know, you actually want the effect. You actually want the secret interaction, right? Because on the one hand, there are some insane spells you can copy, right? You can copy like Bane of Doom, Mind Control, Fireline's Portal. But on the other hand, people actually play bad spells in Arena too. Like, you know, the Hunter deal 1 damage, summon a 1/1 Hound. You know, just they play bad spells too. Okay, so my argument is that you want to play this if you want secret synergy. So I would give this a 3 star. Like, it's reasonable to play this. Oh, Molten Reflection, 4 mana. Choose a friendly minion and summon a copy of it. So this is basically like a faceless manipulator in Arena that you can only cast on your own minions. However, it is 1 mana cheaper, okay? So it's a faceless manipulator that you cast on your own minions, 1 mana cheaper. Okay, cool. How good is that? Now, this is it's a little awkward, right? Because if you don't have anything, it's dead. If you have something insane, then it's insane. And the medium case is that you play it at turn 8 or 9 or something and copy a 5-drop, or like copy a 6-drop if you may, or something like that, right? And that is alright. It's alright. Unfortunately, it does not help you in a losing situation, and it's a spell that you have to draft. I think you would most likely play this if you get it from an RNG effect, right? So I would just rate this like a 2 stars. I think it's not that insane. And if you have like insane cards, then like if you have like Karen, for example, and go like, wow, I really want to play this. My argument is that why don't you just want to play a 4 mana 4/5, or like a 4 mana 3/5 even, right? And then actually survive until you play Karen. So not really that big a deal here. 4 mana 5/4 Steam Surger for mages is it's a battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, you add a Flame Geyser to your hand. It's the card that we previously said, and that is actually not that bad. A 4 mana 5/4 that draws you a card is pretty decent. And once again, the fail case is a 4 mana 5/4, and that's pretty relevant. Like, that's okay. There are a lot of elementals in the core, so the chance of this getting you an extra card and extra value is really good, and that is what you want in your deck. I think this will be a 4 star because the fail case is actually fine. Primordial Glyph, 2 mana mage spell. It says discover a spell and then reduce its cost by 2. Are you joking me? Are you actually joking me? Okay, so there are two ways that there are two main reasons why this card is OP, right? The first reason is that you discover a spell, so you get to choose between the best mage spells. Mage spells are already insane, by the way. Let's remember that, okay? You choose the best one, and you still get a refund on it. So that's actually nuts. What's the second way of this being insane? Well, you can actually play this on turn 2, and then you can Flame Strike on turn 5. You can Fire Lance Pearl on turn 5, and your opponent can't even play around that. You get what I mean? Like, they have to go like, oh my god, I just got turn 5 Flame Strike. I wasn't expecting this in turn 5. So this is effectively an innervate as well. Yeah, easy 5 stars. You see this, you pick this. It's easy as that, really. It's super simple. Meteor. 6 mana mage spell there, under mage spell. Deal 15 damage to a minion and 3 damage to adjacent ones. So super explosive shot. 15 damage basically kills anything, and of course the extra added value of killing a Wrath Guard would be OP. But yeah, it's fine. It's Flame Lance, but better. So I think this is just better than Flame Lance. Like, Flame Lance is already a really good card, right? So I would say this is a 4 stars. And yeah, you would want to play this. It's just kill something, and that's great. Another good comparison is this is Polymorph, right? Polymorph usually kills something, and usually Hero Power the Shape down too, right? So this is like a Polymorph as well, but it deals 3 damage to adjacent ones as well, so that's pretty good. Alright, and finally we have Pyros, the Mage Legendary 2 mana 2/2 Elemental Phoenix, that Death Rattles into a 6 mana 6/6 back to your hand, which also Death Rattles back into a 10 mana 10/10 back to your hand. Now that is OP, okay? You're effectively drafting an 18 mana card. And I think it's really hard to beat an 18 mana 18/18 that gets split into 3 different forms. Sure, you have to play this over and over again, but your opponent's just gonna get outvalued, right? So this is an easy 5 star. You windmill slam this. Very hard for your opponent to beat a 2 mana 2/2 that draws a card, and 6 mana 6/6 that draws another card, and then a 10 mana 10/10. It's super hard. Okay, onwards to our Paladin cards. Adaptation! It's adapt a friendly minion, so keep in mind that you cannot adapt your opponent's minions. You know, sometimes you want to adapt your opponent's minions. For example, give them stealth and then attack phase, so you can't do that, okay? So how good is a 1 mana adapt a friendly minion? Well, I mean, what's the worst case situation? The worst case situation is not the worst case, because adapt, you actually get to discover one of 3 effects, right? So this is basically your Hand of Protection baked into Blessing of Might, baked into stealth part, baked into +3 health. Like, everything is baked together, and I think it's reasonable. Do keep in mind that you do not want to play a lot of these things, because it's at the end of the day a 1 mana buff spell, and in Arena you do not want to play too many buff spells, right? You want to actually draft more minions, because minion combat is the king. So the more minions you have, the better this is. The more you have these, the worse it gets. So I would say it's a 3 star. Lost in the Jungle. 1 mana card, summon 2 1/1 silver hand recruits. Alright, well, pretty standard. You know, the living roots without the living roots deal 2 damage option. Just 1 mana 2 1/1s. It's just kind of like an alley cat. So, you know, a solid 3 star. It's not as good as alley cat for sure, because Paladins actually need to win by controlling the board. Whereas Hunter, alley cats go face, and then you can win with hero power. Paladins, you can't. You have to actually control the board. So it's 3 stars. Hydrologist is a 2 mana 2/2 Murloc. Discover a Paladin secret when you play it, because you're probably playing a Paladin when you play this, right? You know, this is fine. It's no peddler though, because you are discovering a secret, and a secret on average for a Paladin is not that good, right? The best secret, Avenge, is actually not in standard, so it's not that good. So think of this as like a 3 mana 2/2. You know, put a secret of your choice, like it's Discover, onto the battlefield, and you know, it's okay. It's just not too big on Paladin secrets, because they're still pretty easy to play around. But it's not as, this is a 2 mana 2/2 at worst, but at the same time, 2 mana 2/2s is not a 2 mana 3/2. It's also not a 2 mana 2/3. So I'd say this is a 3 star. Life Fused Stego Dawn, 4 mana 3/4. Adapt your silver hand recruits. Now this one is a little bit better than the evolving spores if your whole board is full of 1/1 silver hand recruits, right? You can actually get that for free. Unfortunately, the silver hand recruits are usually 1/1s unless you did some weird things in arena, which may probably happen. So 1/1s getting divine shield or 1/1s getting +3 health doesn't seem that powerful, right? However, there are some crazy stuff you can do with this, right? You can give them all poison and then just trade off all your 1/1s to, you know, bigger creatures. You can give them attack, which is pretty much like poison, but it could be like a bloodlust as well. So this is reasonable. The fail case of this being a 4-mana 3/4 is pretty bad. So you do not play this on turn 4 ever. So the best way you can play this is what? Hero power and play this on turn 6, right? So you can make a 4-mana 3/4, make it with a, you know, Argent Squire or something, which is fine. Like, it's fine. I think this card is just, at the end of the day, fine. 3 stars. Spike Ridged Steed, a 6-mana spell, which gives a minion +2/+6, and Taunt. When it dies, you get to summon a 2/6 Taunt. If you add up the numbers, it's 4/12, right? I know it doesn't really exactly work that way, but it's a 4/12 for 6. Ysera for 6, okay? And the +2/+6, you actually use it on the minion immediately. So this +2/+6, the first version has charge, because usually your minion survives and it actually hits something, right? So that's insane. This card is insane. This card is actually insane. 5 stars. This is actually a windmill slam jam. It's just too good. At turn 8, you can just play this with a hero power, make a 3/7 taunt that dies into 2/6 taunt. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's really good. Vine Cleaver is a 7-mana paladin weapon. After you attack, you summon 2 1/1 silver hand recruits. Now, the 3 durability is pretty important, right? Like, if you compare this to True Silver, then you go like, wow, True Silver is so much better than this. And yes, True Silver is one of the best weapons in the game. So, yeah, this is a little bit worse. So for an extra 3 mana, you get another attack, and you actually summon 2 1/1 silver hand recruits. I think it's really hard to evaluate this card just by looking at it, because it has 3 charges, it's a 7-mana weapon. It's like, how do we evaluate that? So a good comparison is that, imagine if you had 3 Corcoran Elites, okay, that summon 2 1/1s when you die, and you get 3 of them. Is that good? My argument is that is pretty good, right? That is actually pretty damn good. It does come on turn 7, which is a little awkward, but you actually get like 3 attacks in, okay? And if you need to go face, well, 7 mana deal 12 damage over 3 turns is actually not that bad at all. So I think this is actually reasonable. You will actually want this as a finisher, and paladins do actually lack a lot of finishers. I'll give this 4 stars. It's actually a good one. Next, we have Primal Fin Champion, 2 mana 1/2 Murloc with Death Rattle. So when it dies, any spells you cast on this minion get returned to your hand. Now, it's very hard to make this work in arena, I think, because silence effects are running everywhere, and then you know, you actually need to pull a lot of resources into this. And then if you have this on your opener, it's not really a 2-drop, because, you know, there's so many 2/3s, there's so many 3/2s, it just gets traded away. So I don't think this is a good card in arena. I think it's really hard to make it work. It might be better in constructed, because, you know, it's much easier to build a deck. But when you're in arena, the minion combat is king, right? So I would just rate this like a 1 star. I don't think you actually want this. Dino Size! 8 mana paladin spell card that makes a 10/10. You can also make your opponent minion a 10/10. Although, I don't know, that would be some advanced BM, right? This card is good. This card is very good. Why? Because in arena, there's very likely there are a lot of leftover minions, because minion combat is king, right? So if you make this, if you turn a minion into a 10/10, it's effectively Pyroblast, right? It's not as good as Pyroblast, obviously, because, you know, you lose the difference in damage. If you cast this on the 3/3, then you kind of lose 3 damage compared to Pyroblast. But it could come in turn 5. It could come in turn 8. Exactly, that's what I meant. Because it's 8 mana, right? And what is the fail case of this? The fail case is that you hero power and make 10/10 at turn 10. And sometimes 10 mana 10/10s are playable. You don't really want to draft the 10 mana 10/10, but this being versatile at both 8 and 10, and you can actually make some Divine Shield shenanigans happen. You can actually put this on the win for your minion. That's not out of the norm in arena, right? This is really good. So I would give this a 4 star. It's a very good game finisher. Although, of course, you don't want multiple copies of this. And then finally, we have the Sunkeeper Tarim, or Tarim. I'm gonna call you Sunkeeper Tarim. 6 mana, 3/7 taunt with Battlecry, set all other minions attack and health to 3. Now this is a bomb in Arena, right? If your opponent has 2 big creatures, that would be the dream, right? You make them both 3/3s, you clear the board. Or you have 1 minion as well. You have a Silverhand Recruit. Your opponent has 2 Boulderfist Ogre. You play this, trade off one of your Silverhand Recruits with the Ogre, and you're left with a 3/7 taunt. Like, this is just insane, right? You can also buff all your guys to 3/3s. Sometimes, you know, you actually want that to happen. Cards like, you know, Stand Against Darkness, 5 mana, make 5/1/1s, and then play this. That's really insane. So this is really, really good in Arena. I slam jam this for 5 stars. I don't think this is as good as Constructed, but we'll talk about more in Constructed in our Constructed Compendium. This is the Arena one. Alright, onwards to the Priest cards. We have a 1 mana Binding Heal for Priest. Restore 5 health to a minion and your hero. So it's a 1 mana heal 10, but it's not, because, well, it's really hard to get value in both cases, right? You have to actually have a hurt minion as well. You also have to have 5 health on your own face, and at the same time, why do you need 5 health on your own face? Usually you just want to restore 5 health to a minion, right? Compare this to Flash Heal, where Flash Heal sometimes has synergy with Auchenai or Embrace the Shadows, you know, something like that. So I'm not big on Binding Heal. I really don't want, you know, cards that don't do anything and just, you know, restore health. I want to be more proactive, even if I'm playing Priest. 1-star card. Radiant Elemental is a 2 mana 2/3 elemental, of course, because it has elemental in its name. Your spells cost 1 less. So a Sorcerer's Apprentice for Priest is pretty cool, but this is actually a little bit more relevant than Sorcerer's Apprentice, because Priest has the most 0, 1, and 2 spells in the entire game. Like, it's the class that just has them all. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary playing Radiant Elemental and Power Shield immediately at turn 2, right? That could happen in Arena. And yeah, the fair case of this being a 2 mana 2/3 is fine. And then the spells actually could come out quite often. So I'd say this is a 4-star card. A 2 mana 2/3 that has upside is definitely something you want in your deck. Next, we have a 4 mana 2/6 taunt with the name, of course, Tortollan Shell Razor. That's pretty good, right? 4 mana 2/6 taunt is pretty good. Has an additional effect. When it dies, it gives a random friendly minion +1/+1. That seems like it's a pretty good deal. 4 mana 3/7, right? And sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. Because sometimes it's better because it buffs one of your better minions +1/+1, right? Sometimes it's worse because you don't have a minion, but then at the end of the day, you're playing a 4 mana 2/6 taunt, which is reasonable. So I would give this a 4-star. And yeah, this is great. Crystalline Oracle, 1 mana 1/1, Death Rattle. Copy a card from your opponent's deck and add it to your hand. Now, we already talked about this. Any 1 mana card that 1 mana 1/1 that replaces itself is obviously really good. This, however, is probably the worst version in Arena, because it actually copies a card from your opponent's deck, and it's not something, you know, random, right? Like, on average, a random card is worth more than a card in any Arena deck, because you're playing Arena, you're not drafting the most insane deck or whatever. However, as well, you're stealing a card from your opponent's deck. So my argument is that if your opponent's deck sucks and you get a sucky card, it doesn't matter. You're playing against a sucky deck anyways. If your opponent has the most insane card, like Malcazar, right? You copy one of those. So it also balances it out that way, right? So I think it's a very easy windmill slam jam 5-star. It's just good. 1 mana 1/1 that replaces itself. Mirage Caller, 3 mana 2/3 with Battlecry. Choose a friendly minion and summon a 1/1 copy of it. Oh no, this is not a good Arena card. Leave this for the constructed people to make spicy brews of it, because there's a card I know of that's a 3 mana 2/3 summon a 1/1. It's called Razorfen Hunter, and that card is really bad because it does not match up well against 3/4s, does not match up good against 4/3s because of hero powers, and it's just a liability. Now, you're saying that when I play this, I actually need another minion, and that minion has to be good? Otherwise, it's a Razorfen Hunter? How often are the stars going to align with this? In Arena, it's not going to happen. So yeah, 1-star card. Not good. Free from Amber. 8 mana spell card for priest. Discover a minion that costs 8 or more and summon it. So when you summon an 8 plus minion, you actually don't activate its battle cries. So you want something like, you know, Ysera or something with like something that has an effect on itself. Yasharaj would be a good choice. And not any of the old gods, right? Because those usually have battle cries, and that's just not good. Now, this is good. Why is this good? Because in arena, you need bombs. And priests, you need more bombs because you have a hero power that promotes more of a board control play style. And you actually get to choose the biggest bomb out of 3 options. And that's really good. This is actually really, really good. So, yeah. And a good comparison to this is also Forbidden Shaping, right? Forbidden Shaping you usually put in turn 8 anyways. So this is kind of like drafting Forbidden Shaping and being happy with it. It's really rare that you play Forbidden Shaping at, you know, before turn 8. Unless you actually have nothing else to do, right? So I would give this just, is it crazy? 5 stars? Because it is actually a bomb. It's crazy. Shadow Visions. 2 mana, discover a copy of a spell in your deck. Now this is pretty damn bad in the arena. Why? Well, Light in the Darkness is a card that you can play in arena as a paladin, and it doesn't do anything. I argue so much that when I'm playing against paladins in arena and they play Light in the Darkness at turn 2, I know I'm gonna win the game because they could literally just hero power, play a 1/1, and then just play Light in the Darkness when there's nothing else to play, right? You can actually just wait until you have nothing, no minions that you don't need to fight for board, and then play that. This is, well, not the worst because as a priest, you can play this card and not hero power and emote, right? We know that's like the most glorious priest play when you have nothing to do, right? This doesn't help. This doesn't help, okay? This just replaces itself with a copy of a spell in your deck. Sure, you can get something crazy like Holy Nova or Dragonfire Potion, but once again, I would rather have a 2-drop over this. And there are a lot of good epic cards in Priest, right? You're drafting this against Cabal Shadow Priest, Dragonfire Potion, Forbidden Shaping, Free from Amber. All these good Priest epic cards, and you want to choose this piece of junk? No, 0 stars. Not good. Curious Glimmer Roots. 3 mana, 3/3. Battle Cry. Look at 3 cards and then guess which one started in your opponent's deck to get a copy of it. Oh god. Now this is actually an RNG clown fiesta because unlike Constructed, where you can actually guess what your opponent is playing, in Arena, this is actually just, yep, good luck, my friend. Good freaking luck. By the way, these cards are actually smart, okay? So for example, if you're playing against a hunter, they're not gonna put swipe up, okay? It's not gonna put swipe up, okay? And you know it's not gonna be that choice. It's actually gonna be neutrals and their opponent's class. Good luck. Good freaking luck. So what this card is a 3 mana 3/3 that draws 1/3 of a card. Because if you're lucky, you know, 3 mana 3/3 that draws 1/3 of a card is reasonable. Like, it's reasonable. But I'm not like super excited about this card, so I give this like a 3 stars. If the other epic choices are really bad, I'll pick this. This is close to a 2 stars, but I'll give it 3 stars. Sometimes you can get a card because you know your opponent is not gonna draft something like Silence, you know. Alright, finally we have a Priest Legendary Lyra, the Sun Shard. 5 mana 3/5 Elemental, which with whenever you cast a spell, add a random priest spell to your hand. So it's like Antonitis, but instead of fireballs, you get random priest spells, and once again it fuels itself, right? So this is pretty good in arena because it's a win condition. And you play this, your opponent doesn't usually have a good way of dealing with this. It's a 5 health creature after all, and 5 is on the top end of the 3/4/5 Amaz'S Fury, which I guess we can make a video later to describe the 3/4/5, you know, theory. It's very important, but for a creature of 5 health is like significantly better, like very, very, very good. Yeah, this is just good. It's just a win condition by itself. You can get some weird stuff like mind control and stuff like that, and if you get some small spells, then whatever, it doesn't matter. There are a few spells that stop the cycling, so if you get something like Potion of Madness or Shadow Madness without the target, then you actually stop. But at the same time, this card is probably going to survive if you have no targets in your opponent's board. So this is good. So I would probably pick this. with spells. It's not an auto slam jam though, because you do need spells to actually start the cycling. So 4 stars, it's pretty good. Onwards to the roll cards, we have Hallucination. 1 mana, discover a card from your opponent's class. So very similar to Swashbuckler, but instead of getting a 1/1 body, you get a choice of a card. Isn't that just nuts? That is actually just nuts. Okay, let me explain why this is nuts, okay? So, in arena drafting, you're not going to get your legendaries and epics at that high a rate, because at the end of the day, it is arena, right? There are, quality balances in that you get more commons than rares, than more than epics and legendaries and stuff like that, right? This ignores that rule, okay? You actually get 3 choices, all different rarities, pick the best one, right? Just pick that Dragonfire potion, pick that swipe, and you'll be very, very happy of it. So yeah, this is just a card that you're drafting inside an arena game, and you're picking the best one. No, this card is actually insane. Easy Windmill Slam Jam 5-star, in my opinion. The cost of one mana is just, it doesn't matter because you're picking something insane, right? Like, would you guys want to play a 10 mana Ysera, right? Or a 6 mana 5/6? Like, that is completely fine. And that's like the worst case situation. You're getting a spell of this. No, this card is insane. Next, we have a 2 mana 2/2 Razor Petal Lasher with, at a 1 mana, deal 1 damage to Razor Petal, yeah? So it's a 3 mana 2/2 that deals 1 damage sometimes. Sometimes it activates combos. I'm genuinely not excited about Ironforge Rifleman. And I'm really not excited about this card either. It is a 2-drop, so sometimes you need 2-drops. Like, God knows you need a 2-drop, you just pick it, right? But rogues do not need 2-drops, right? Because they can hero power. Sometimes hero powering is better turn 2 anyways, right? You just actually, your hero power deals 2 damage. So I wouldn't rate this too highly. I would say this is 2 stars. If you need a 2-drop, then go ahead and pick this. Next, we have Razor Petal Folly. The spell version of this is a 2 mana spell that adds 2, deal 1 mana, deal 1 damage. So you're telling me that you're losing the 2/2 body for 1 more of these pieces of... No, this is not good. Unfortunately, it's still playable. It's better than Ancient Watcher. So you would pick this over Ancient Watcher. So this would be a 1-star. It's not 0. But it's pretty crappy, man. 4 mana, deal 2 damage is not what you want. And Venom Weapon. Oh my god. Now that is some interesting interaction, right? You're giving your weapon poisonous now. So you become Emperor Cobra. And of course, you can just use it on your own hero power. And then, so your hero power, you play this. 5 mana, right? Kill anything. Of course, it doesn't go to Divine Shields as well, but you're literally getting 2 assassinates for 5 mana. And some damage to your face. Who cares? Rogues like to trade health for tempo anyways. 5 stars. This is actually insane. 2 assassinates in 1. Rarely get that deal. Mimic Port. 3 mana, draw a card and add a copy of it to your hand. It's an Arcane Intellect. It's a little bit worse than Arcane Intellect because when you use Arcane Intellect, you usually cycle through your deck faster, so you get to draw your best cards faster. And of course, Mimic card could actually get you RNG card and just get you one of your legendaries, or get you a double eviscerates or something. Like, that's really good, right? So yeah, this is fine. I wouldn't be unhappy playing with this, and if your deck needs a little bit more reach, you would play this. So 4 stars. Pretty good. Obsidian Shard. It's a 4 mana 3/3 weapon with cost 1 less for each card you play from another class. Now, this effect is really easy to trigger because, you're playing cards from all sorts of classes anyways, right? Lotus Agents is still in the game. So when you play that and discover, God knows, a Shaman card, this actually works as well. I'm going to go ahead and assume that this works wherever it is. So if you draw this late game, it's a 2 mana 3/3 weapon or something like that, right? That would make it good. Honestly, the other version would also be good because you're playing a 4 mana 3/3 weapon, okay? An extra charge on the Fire War Axe is really good. And if you play this for 3, then you're basically cheating, right? You're playing Eagle Horn Bow with 3 charges. So that's really good. It's a little bit worse in Rogue because obviously you can use your own hero power and make a weapon anyways, and you can't, dual wield or anything like that. But it's still a pretty good rate. I would still rate this 4 stars. Just 3 attack weapons are great. Alright, next we have a 2-mana 1/1 Biteweed combo. Gain +1/+1 for each other card you've played this turn. So Edwin Jr., right? How good is this in Arena? I'm gonna argue that this is actually not good in Arena. You want to curve out. You don't want to make a deck that has, you know, oh, so many combo cards. You know, we have a lot of 1-drops, a lot of 2-drops, and then play this. Well, your opponent removes that, and then you sit there like an idiot. Wow, that's pretty sad. Silence. That's pretty sad. Wow. There's just so much random stuff that can happen. No, I don't think this is playable at all. 1 star. Speaking of plants that are unplayable, Vile Spine Slayer shows up. 5 mana, 3/4 with combo destroy a minion. Are you seriously kidding me? So you're assassinating something and getting a free 3/4. Very easy 5-star there, right? Like, super easy 5-star. Are you kidding me with this? Yeah, rogues are gonna have some pretty insane epic luck with Vile Spine Slayer on the one hand and then Biteweed on the other hand. Hopefully you guys are drafting the Vile Spine Slayers and not the Biteweeds. Alright, finally we have Sherazin Corpse Flower for the Rogue Legendary. 4 mana 5/3 with Death Rattle, resurrect itself if you play 4 cards in a turn. Very difficult to do in Arena. Very, very hard. You're trying to curve out. You're always drafting your 5 mana 5/5s and your 6 mana 6/6s and whatnot. And for this to have double value, well, at the end of the day, it's just 4 mana 2/5/3s on the later game. It's just not worth it. There are better legendaries out there. There are a lot of crappy legendaries, that's for sure. But this falls under that category that you hope legendaries that show up are not Sherazin. So it's a 1-star card. You do not want this. Onwards to our Shaman cards. Starting with the commons. Air Elemental, 1 mana 2/1 with can't be targeted by spells or hero powers. So it does blank some hero powers, such as, you know, the mage one and the mage one. So then yeah, it's actually you're really using it for like the fairy dragon effect. But there's so many pingers that are not really a hero power or spell in Arena anyways. You know, there's the Murloc Blowgill, you know, there's Twilight Flamecaller. There's just a bunch of ways to deal 1 damage. And at the end of the day, it's just 2/1. So once again, if you need a 2/1, then sure draft this. 1 mana 2/1s are at minimum 3 stars, honestly, because they're just good at trading upwards. This effect does not bump it up a star. It's just fine. So 3 stars still. Hot Spring Guardian. We have a 3 mana 2/4 with Taunt. So that's like a Squirming Tentacle. Oh wait, it has an extra effect. Battlecry, restore 3 health. Wow, power creeping. Hello, how's it going? So really good. Farseer is played everywhere, and this being a 3 mana 2/4 Taunt is especially relevant, right? So this is really good. You just have to pick this if you get offered this. 4-star, very, very strong card. Got Tidal Surge here. 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion, and then restore 4 health to your hero. So it's kind of like a smaller Holy Fire. For cheaper, it's 4 mana, so it's really decent, right? There's a million targets for this in Arena. 4/3s you can kill, 5/4s you can kill, and you also get to restore 4 health to your hero, which is pretty relevant if you're playing against Mage and Hunter and whatnot. So yeah, just an overcosted Shadow Bolt, or sometimes you can think of it as a Jade Lightning. Yeah, this is just great. You would pick this if it's offered. 4 stars. Get it? Because it's 4 mana, deal 4 damage, restore 4 health, and it's 4 stars. Give me 4! Next we have the 2 mana Fire Plume Harbinger with Battlecry. Reduce the cost of elementals in your hand by 1. Being a 1/1 is not exactly what you want, and reducing the cost in your hand by 1 is not really that good, because you're not only drafting elementals, you're drafting all sorts of craziness, right? So this only giving you 1 activation seems terrible. Just giving you 2 activations also seems pretty terrible, because like, okay, sure, you can play this 1 turn earlier, but there are so few games far in between that you actually get to like out-tempo people with a 2 mana 1/1. Sure, you can play your 5-drop at 4 or your Doctor 7 at 6 or something like that, but you're playing a 2 mana 1/1. So no, I'm not a big fan of this. 1 star. Alright, next up we have the Primal Fin Totem. At the end of your turn, summon a 1/1 Murloc. It is a 0/3. How is this good? It's not. Well, good. Because it's a 2 mana 0/3, okay? You sure you get a 1/1, and sure if your opponent doesn't deal with it, you get another 1/1. So then what, right? 2 mana 0 attack creatures are generally pretty bad. You genuinely don't want to play this. Flame Tongue Totem is so much better. Mana Tide Totem is so much better. One more Murlocs, no. If it summons Tiny Fins, then it might get a bump up, but for now, it's just a 1-star. Volcano! 5 mana shaman spell that deals 15 damage split amongst all minions and overload 2. This card is obviously the replacement for Elemental Destruction because Elemental Destruction is rotating out, and this would be your Flame Strike. Unfortunately, this Flame Strike requires you to not have a board, so it is a good comeback mechanic, and sometimes you need those, right? I think the power level of this card really stems from the player, right? If you draft this card and they go like, wow, why does this card suck so much? Well, because you're not playing it correctly, okay? If you have Volcano in your hand, you probably want to bait your opponent to play more stuff, and then you play Volcano and then go over the top, right? That's how you play this card correctly. So if you play this card correctly, it's a 4 stars. And if you don't play this card correctly, then you're a digital dummy. Next, we have a Spirit Echo. 3 mana, give your minions Death Rattle. Return this to your hand. So all your minions return to your hand when they die. So that's pretty good, right? That seems pretty good. You compare this to Infest. Infest is kind of like Random Beast. It's a little bit more awkward. But this, you actually get to choose what minions you return back to your hand, because I mean, honestly, you're not gonna draft this with a bunch of 1-drops and 2-drops, right? You're gonna draft this with the good cards, and if you actually activate this on 2 minions, then you kind of get your value back, because 3 mana draw 2, we know it's really good. So I'm pretty okay with this. The fact that it is still a conditional card draw makes me a little bit awkward, but the potential of this can be pretty high. So I give this a 3 stars. It's a good card. Next, we have the Epic Stone Sentinel, 7 mana 4/4 with, if you played an elemental last turn, cast Pharaoh Spirits. Yes, please. I mean, there's gonna be, I'm assuming there's gonna be a lot of elementals in this set, right? And summoning 2/2/3s with taunt seems pretty good deal. You're getting a total of 8/10 out of a 7-drop if you actually meet this condition. So that seems pretty good. Of course, the fail case of this is that it doesn't happen, and of course you might not draft that many elementals, but what happens is pretty good. So yeah, I would give this a 3 stars. Kalimos, the Primal Lord. 8 mana 7/7 with Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, you get an Invocation, which is a mixture of, you can deal 3 damage to all minions, so Abyssal Enforcer. You can fill your board with 1/1s, so Nyxia. You can deal 6 damage to your opponent's face, so Smork. And of course you have restore 12 health to your hero. Basically, Reno in a sense, yeah. The fact that you can choose between all 4, you can choose between Nyxia, Abyssal Enforcer, Reno, and Smork, makes this a very, very good card. Of course, you need to draft a little bit more elementals, but I don't see this card being bad. This card would be a 6 stars if it happened all the time, and because of the of the condition, it's a 5-star, right? You actually need this. You actually need to make it work, but I don't actually see this hard to make work, because there are a lot of shaman cards that are going to be turning into elementals, like Unbound Elemental, Fire Elemental, so you're going to have more elementals than shamans anyways. Onwards to the Warlock cards. We have a 4 mana 3/8 Lakari Fellhound, Taunt, Battlecry, discard 2 random cards. So it's exactly like your Doomguard, where you're paying cards for the power level instead. Now this is not a Doomguard, okay? The Doomguard is way better because 5 mana 5/7 charge is insane. A 4 mana 3/8 Taunt is not quite insane, but you're still playing above the curve. And pretend this is a 6 mana 3/8. We know what 6 mana 3/8 is, right? Ancient of Blossoms, exactly. So you can play this and then tap later, and then just get the cards back. And of course, if you're top decking and if you're playing a very aggressive Warlock, then this might actually just be a pure 4 mana 3/8, and it's pretty good. It's fine. I don't think it's Doomguard level. I think it's a 3 stars. It's fine. Next we have Ravenous Pterodax. For 4 mana, you get a 4/4. You have to destroy a friendly minion if you have one, but if you do, you get to adapt twice, and that would be pretty crazy. Like, imagine turn 4, you eat a possessed villager or something, or you eat a 2 mana 2/2 or 3/2 or something like that, and then you suddenly got a 4 mana 7/7. You suddenly get a 4 mana 4/7 Divine Shield. You suddenly get a 4 mana 7/4 Wind Fury. that your opponent can't deal with. Yes, please. The upside of this card is so high up there that it's also relevant in late game. I'd say this is like really, really good. I give this like, man, I'm really close to giving this 5 stars, but I'm giving this 4 stars because it's not a windmill slam jam, okay? 4 stars, really good. Tar Lurker, 5 mana, 1/7 taunt. That's a 4/7 in your opponent's turn. I actually think this is really slow. Sure, it's a 4/7 with taunt, but your opponent doesn't really need to deal with this immediately. Obviously, you want to play more bigger creatures behind the Tar Lurker so that your those minions get a little bit more value. But a 5 mana 4/7 taunt is not really like out of the ordinary, right? I mean, we have Druid of Claws. Even Fang Creeper doesn't really match that down. So I think this is reasonable. I mean, I don't think you're excited about this, but I still think this is reasonable. So I would give this a 3 stars. Corrupting Mist! For 2 mana, you get to corrupt every minion and then destroy them at the start of your next turn. Now, this is a very awkward spell to play in Arena, for sure. It's no Doomsayer, because Doomsayer actually prevents your opponent from establishing more minions. This one corrupts them, and then your opponents can play fresh minions, right? So, it's not as good as you think in Arena. I think this is more of a constructed card. And yeah, just wiping your opponent's board and then having them trade or go face and then having them keep on playing minions is not that good. Basically, your opponent always gets to choose how bad this effect is. And I don't like doing that. So I would just give this a 2 stars. Feeding Time for 5 mana, also known as Balanced Implosion. Deal 3 damage to a minion and then summon 3 1/1s. Keep in mind the 1/1s are beasts, although that doesn't really matter because it's a warlock. 5 mana, summon 3 Elven Archers and they all shoot at the same time. I mean, yeah. If you want this, it's okay. It's not unreasonable. It's still a removal and you still get 1/1s. But this actually proves that how crazy Implosion was. I always thought that Implosion was a 5-star card, and this proves that, right? Because Implosion was a 4 mana. At the minimum, deal 2 damage, summon 2 1/1s, right? And it has upside. Yeah, this is 3 stars. I think this is fine. Cruel Dinomancer, 6 mana 5/5. When this dies, that's very important. When this dies, you summon a random minion you discard this game. So not only do you need to have discard mechanics, not only do you need to discard a good minion, and you also need to play a 6 mana 5/5 of this. Yeah. If the stars align, then good job, you got your 6 mana Deathwing. The stars usually don't align though. A 1-star card. Blood Bloom! For 2 mana, you get to innervate a spell at the cost of your health. Now, sure, you wouldn't really need to 2 mana Doom or 2 mana Twisting Nether. That seems pretty stupid, but there are some pretty good cards that can cast with this. 2 mana Bane of Doom, 2 mana Siphon Soul, 2 mana Karakazam. These are cards that you do play in Arena quite a bit, right? Not as good as Innervate though, because it only works on your spells, and it also only works on a specific group of spells, right? So I don't rate this really highly. I still think this is just a little fringe. 1 star. Chittering Tunneler is the 3 mana 3/3 beast for Warlock. It says Battlecry, discover a spell, and then deal damage to your hero equal to its cost. Well, Cabal Courier just got a very big price tag because, well, the funny thing is, if you actually get a choice between Siphon Soul, Doom, and Twisting Nether, you have to pick one of those. So you have to actually kill yourself. That's what you're playing against Warlock, right? Very, very awkward. At the end of the day though, it's still a 3 mana 3/3 draw a spell. And if it's a 3 mana 3/3 draw a Mortal Coil, 3 mana 3/3 draw a Siphon Soul or something like that, it's still really good. So at the end of the day, this is still a really good card. So 4-star card, you're still drawing a card. Sometimes you kill yourself, but hey, whatever. You're okay with that sometimes, right? Finally, we got Clutch Mother Zavas in Arena. Whenever you discard this 2 mana 2/2, it becomes bigger and it also returns to your hand, so you actually don't discard. Yeah, not gonna work in Arena, unfortunately. This is a constructed card where you actually build like a discard deck. This is just not gonna happen. It's usually a 2 mana 2/2, so this would fall under the bad legendary park. So yeah, and the 2 mana 4/4 is not really breaking the rules or anything, right? There's just so many ways to break the rules in Hearthstone in Arena, but this is not one of them. So 1-star card, still a 2 mana 2/2, right? Onwards to our warrior cards. We're gonna start with a Iron Hide, 1 mana, gain 5 armor. Why is this in the game? Why do you want to heal yourself and not interact? You don't even have an option. Like Flash Heal, you can heal your minion. You don't even have an option. This is our first 0-star in Ungoro Arena. Don't draft this, guys. 6 mana 5/5 taunt, honorary Direhorn, Battlecry Adapt. Now that is a complete 360 to the one we just saw just now. I always said that if Dark Arakoa was actually a card in Arena, that it would be picked a lot, right? It's a 6 mana 5/7 taunt. That's really good. This is arguably better, right? 6 mana 5/8 taunt, 6 mana 5/5 taunt Divine Shield, 6 mana 5/5 taunt and okay, stealth isn't that good, but you know, this is actually really good. So I would actually pick this. This is just, you see this, you pick this. 4 stars. Very good minion. Next we have the Atar Lord, 7 mana for a 1/11 that on your opponent's turn is actually a 5/11 instead. Now I am not big on this because we already have Ancient of War, and the fact that this is a common though makes it help more. So if you actually want this effect, then you can actually draft this a little bit more because it appears more frequently, and it also buys you time. So in Warrior, it's actually not that bad because Warrior drafts actually work the most with value base, right? You want to trade weapons with minions. You want to draft a lot of bombs, and this actually buys you a lot of time. So if this was in another class, it would be a little bit worse. This is in Warrior, so it's actually reasonable. So I would give this a 3-star. If you want something like this, then sure, you can take this. Molten Blade, 1 mana 1/1. Each turn this is in your hand, transform it into a new weapon. So, you know, say you get a Light's Justice. Well, you don't have to play it, just wait a little bit. Say you get a Doomhammer. Yeah, you get a Doomhammer, right? Why this card is also extra good is because you can actually buff this card up. There are a lot of warrior cards that buff weapons. You got your Upgrade, you got your Grime Street, whatever, 3 mana 3/3 that buffs a weapon. So yeah, this is pretty good, and this is your weapon of choice. I mean, this is gonna show up. Warriors, you need weapon. 5-star card. You actually need weapons as warrior. It's the core mindset when you play warrior. So draft this card when you see it. Corner Sentry with a 2 mana 2/6 taunt. That has to be a downside, right? Good thing it's not a dirty red downside. It's just summon 3/1/1 raptors for your opponent. Now this is actually reasonable in Arena because at the fail case is a 2 mana 2/3 taunt that sure activates your opponent's raid leaders or kill commands or whatever, but it does have an upside. You can actually cast a whirlwind effect, so you can actually play this and play Ravaging Ghoul and then make a 2/5 and a 3/3 for 5 mana. That seems pretty fine. You can also trade these 1/1 raptors with your minions because it is Arena. You get actually minion combat, right? So this is not bad. It's reasonable. I would give this a 3 stars. Next we have Direhorn Hatchling for 5 mana 3/6. You get a taunt. You get a Fang Creeper. Oh, what? It has an extra effect? When it dies, you get a 5 mana 6/9 taunt? What? What? That's really good. 5 mana minions in Arena are really good. That's a topic for another day, by the way. Because 5 mana minions are just king. You can play 5-drop into 5-drop, and usually that's better than a 10-drop, right? This is really good. Fang Creeper Plus, and Fang Creeper is playable in Arena. So I would pick this really highly. I would rate this a 4 stars. Just pick this card and be happy with your 5 mana 6/9. Next we have Explore Ungoro. This would be what this is like the Gachigasm for Warrior, right? Renounced Darkness for Warriors. 2 mana Explore Ungoro. You replace your deck with your whole deck with copies of Discover a Card. And Discover a Card is a 1-cost spell that literally says Discover a Card. So you're literally drafting Arena inside an Arena game. Ooh. Now, this card is really good because it's a win condition by itself, right? You play this and you literally just play the best card every single turn. And, you know, it's fine if you actually pay 1 more extra mana for those because you're choosing the best minion. And then, you know, just randomly draft a Gas and Auctioneer along with this. Randomly draft a questing adventure of this. Yeah, you get the deal, right? This is a very, very good card. Will win the game if you're behind. Will probably not win the game if you're ahead, but it's a good alternate win condition. Alternate win conditions are good. 4 stars. Sudden Genesis, 5 mana, summon copies of your damaged minions. Okay, what? So you're saying that Blood Warriors is a 3 mana, add all damaged minions to your hand, and for an extra cost of 2, I get to summon them as well? Sure, they don't have battle cries, but what if they have death rattles, right? What if they have like extra stuff? What if they're Yseras? That's actually insane. It's like multiple ultra faceless manipulator on every single minion. Oh my god. Okay? However, at the end of the day, it is a conditional faceless manipulator. So sure, the dream might be super high, but you know, the reality is that it's really hard to play this correctly. 2 stars. Finally, we have King Mosh. Oh, look at him. He's so angry. 9 mana, 9/7 beast with Battlecry, destroy all damaged minions. Well, this is just like a board wipe, right? Unfortunately, we don't have Desperate anymore, but you know, this is actually okay. There are usually damaged minions in the arena, and the fact that it destroys all damaged minions doesn't really matter because you can just trade your minions away first. You might have full health minions and whatnot. So this is a fine game ender. It's not an insane game ender. It's a fine game ender. 4 stars. Woohoo! And we are done with our class cards. And finally, we have our neutral cards. Start with the Emerald Weaver here. 1 mana 2/1 beast that deals 1 damage to each hero. 1 mana 2/1s have a minimum star rating of 3 stars because 1 mana 2/1s are great. This one deals 1 damage to each hero as a little bit bonus, so it's a bit better in Hunter, a little bit weaker in other classes. So yeah, 3 stars. Firefly is a 1 mana 1/2 that adds a 1 mana 1/2 to your hand. Deja vu happened. Do I want to play a 2 mana 2/1/2s? Nope. This is just not good. Does actually activate your elemental synergies though. So if you have elemental synergies, then draft this card. Sure, if you have really bad choices. But if you don't have elemental synergies, then you just gotta ignore this card. 1 star card. Glacial Shard is a 1 mana 2/1 with Battlecry, freeze an enemy. It's an elemental as well. And it's like the baby Frost Elemental. Oh, it's so cute. The Battlecry is very relevant. The freeze an enemy is very, very relevant. It sets up good trades for you. It sets up, you know, it buys you a turn off lethal. You know, you actually get to manipulate the board really well. And on top of that, it's a 1 mana 2/1. So you're actually not paying that much. So I think I like this card. 4 stars. Ravasaur Runts. Oh, it's so cute. 2 mana 2/2 beast, Battlecry. If you draw at least 2 other minions, you get to adapt. So you get your choice of 2/5 or 5/2. So your Druid of the Flame. You actually get a choice between your stealth minion and shielded mini bot and Wind Fury and stuff like that. It seems pretty good, and it's also pretty easy to get 2 other minions, honestly. The fail case is a 2 mana 2/2 though. 2 mana 2/2s are of course not as good as 2 3s and 3 2s, but you know, you get the point. The upside is there, so I would say this is a 3 stars. Got the Rockpool Hunter here, 2 mana 2/3 Murloc that gives a friendly Murloc +1/+1. Say you don't activate this, it's a 2 mana 2/3. Okay, fine, whatever, right? Say you do activate this, wow, you give a Murloc +1/+1. Reality is you're not actually gonna find a Murloc that often. And you know, the extra upside means that, you know, sometimes you get to play a later 2 mana 3/4, but the later 2 mana 3/4 is not too relevant. I'll give this a 3 stars. It's usually just a 2 mana 2/3. Stubborn Gastropod, 2 mana 1/2 with Taunt and Poisonous. Wow, that's actually pretty cool stats. Reminds me of some Elder Scrolls Legends, actually. This is really good if your opponent can't deal with this and they have a big creature on the board, right? It's also very, very defensive, so it's pretty good. And also trades really well with a lot of creatures. And also in Hearthstone, there's a lot of hero powers that deal 1 damage. So for the fact that this deals 2 damage is really good. So I think this is actually relevant in all situations of the game. It actually trades for something. That's the key, right? So I would say this is 4 stars. It's actually really, really nice. Volatile Elemental, 2 mana 1/1, Death Rattle. It deals 3 damage to random enemy minion. So it always shoots an enemy minion. So no longer it will just go face like a huge toad. But it's a 2 mana 1/1. And your opponent gets to decide how to finish this off. Sure, the best case situation is you actually attack this into a 3/4. And then it activates, so it's like a 4/1, right? But then let me ask you, why are you playing Duskboar? 1 star. We have Ignapper here, 3 mana, 3/1 with Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1s. Very sticky board that rewards, decks that actually require minions, such as, the Dinosaur Adapts or even Paladins. Paladins can actually take advantage of this minion quite well because of their multiple buffs like Silver Moon Portal, Blessing of Kings, and stuff like that, right? This card would suck a little bit more in other classes, but I do like this card in the fact that it does trade really well for 4/3s. So if your opponent has a Kirin Tor Mage, you play this, is really good. But your opponent's not going to just let that happen. They're going to ping this off, and then you're not too sad. You still get 2 1/1s. So I still think this is playable. 3 stars. Giant Wasp, 3 mana, 2/2, stealth, poisonous. Well, everybody just got a Patient Assassin, but this is 2 health, so it does actually dodge your 1 health removals, such as Maelstrom Portal, your deal 1 damage to everything. A million things deal 1 damage. This is actually pretty good. It's a delayed assassinate if it works well, and it is 2 health, so it should do pretty well. So this is going to be a 4 stars. Pretty good. 3 mana assassinate is a good card. Igneous Elemental is a 3 mana 2/3 with Death Rattle. Add 2 1 mana 1/2 elementals to your hand. Does not add them to your board. So yeah, you can say that it's a 3 mana 4/5 if you add up all the stats, but it's not, because these minions have 2 attack. These minions have 1 attack. The hell are you doing with these small asses that just gets wrecked by 2/3s and 3/4s and stuff like that in arena? No. You do not want this. The only reason you want this is because you want some elemental synergy and you want to draft this later. So face value, not good. 2 stars. Next, we have the Primal Fin Lookout, 3 mana 3/2 Murloc with Battlecry. If you control another Murloc, you get to card draw, discover a Murloc. Well, yeah, Murlocs are usually not that good because they're a little bit underrated. They're actually just not as powerful as drawing a card or discover a card, right? And the fail case of this being a 3 mana 3/2 is pretty damn bad. So pretty hard to make this deck a card work. When it works, it's okay. I don't think it's breaking the game or anything. So I would give this a 2 stars. Pterodax Hatchling, 3 mana 2/2 Battlecry, no matter what. So every class actually gets their own Druid of the Flame. Unfortunately, there are some cases where this is really bad, such as Divine Shield. You make a mini bot at 3, +1/+1. Oh wait, that's a 3/3. Poisonous, okay, that's an Emperor Cobra. 3 mana 2/5, 3 mana 5/2, whatever, right? All the choices seem a little bit bad, but if you want a cute dinosaur in your deck, if you want to go for the cute plays, pick this 2-star card. Tar Creeper, 3 mana 1/5. Taunt, and it's a Senjin Shieldmaster in your opponent's turn. This is actually okay because at turn 3, a 1/5 is actually reasonable, and this also clogs up the board a little bit. Once again, the problem arises that your opponent gets to decide how to trade this, right? So it's a little bit more awkward in arena. So I would actually just give this a... Man, I want to give this a 2-star, but I think it's a little bit better than that, so I'll give this a 3-star. It is, at the end of the day, still a 3/5. Tantalisad, 3 mana 3/3 Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, you get to adapt. So 3 mana 3/3 is not good, but the upside, the ceiling of this card is really good, right? You get to adapt, so you already get a free +1/+1 because you compare it to the 3 mana 2/2 adapt that we talked about just now, and then you get an extra buff on top of it, right? So it really depends on how many elementals you draft. I'm okay with this. 3 stars. 4 mana 3/3 Fire Plume Phoenix. Battlecry, deal 2 damage. So it's a SI7 that you don't need to activate, that's available for all classes. It's great, Battlecry deal 2 damage is really relevant. 4 mana 3/3 is also really relevant. So you see this, you pick this. You're just pretty happy with this. I would give this 4 stars. It's a good card. Stegodon, 4 mana 2/6 taunt. Yep, that's pretty boring. What can you say? That's the filler card of this deck. 2/6 taunt is better than Maiden of Lake though, because taunt is a little bit more relevant, but 3 stars, 2/6. What do you want? Okay, what just happened? Nesting Rock is a common. 5 mana 4/7. Battlecry. If you control at least 2 other minions, it gains taunt. What? Okay, so you're telling me that 5 mana 4/7 is already really good and that's an extra effect, and it's a common. That's pretty crazy. I think this is actually a 5-star. It feels really weird to rate a common a 5-star card, but look at the card, right? A 4/7 for 5, and you also get taunt. Like it's not unreasonable to get taunts, right? 2 other minions is not that hard to do, and if you don't have the 2 other minions, chances are you don't need the taunt anyways, right? You're still fighting on board. So yeah. This is a good card. Saber-Tooth Smorker, 6 mana 8/2 with stealth, and well, just go face, right? I don't really think you want to trade because otherwise you're playing a Flame Lance that happens 1 turn later that also costs 1 more. No. Face. It's actually not a bad game ender. Does just get wrecked by Consecrations, Volcanic Potions, Lightning Storms, Holy Novas. It does that to everything. But if you don't, face. So you want SM Orc, 2-star face card. Sated Threshodon is a 7 mana 5/7 beast with Death Rattle, summon 3/1/1 Murlocs. Now that's pretty good, right? So imagine if it's a 6 mana 5/7. You'd be happy playing 6 mana 5/7s. So for 1 extra mana, you get 3 extra 1/1. So would you play a 1 mana card that says play 3 1/1s? Yes, you would. So yeah, this is great. I would just give this 4 stars. This is actually really good. Stormwatcher, 7 mana 4/8 with Wind Fury. Now this card basically proved how bad Corrupted Dragonhawk was, because Corrupted Dragonhawk was a 7 mana 5/5 Wind Fury. It was so bad. But this one is not even a 7 mana 4/6 Wind Fury. So you would think that Wind Fury, the stat line would be, it's not that good, right? But this is a 7 mana 4/8. And 8 health is very, very good, right? This would be better in classes that can buff it, obviously. So stuff like, Priest, that can heal it as well. Paladin, obviously, and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a good stat line. 7 mana 4/8. I'm not unhappy to draft this, so 3 stars. More fillers! 9 mana 6/10. Although the taunt is a little bit better. It does help you stabilize quite a bit. And if you're playing stuff like Warrior or Priest, the taunt actually does make a lot of sense. So if you want a big dirty creature, there you go. Be happy with it. 3-star card. Golakka Queller is a 2 mana 2/3 beast with battle card. Destroy a pirate and gain +1/+1. You're probably not gonna destroy a pirate, and you're probably just gonna play a 2 mana 2/3. So be happy with a 2 mana 2/3 if you want to be happy with a 2 mana 2/3. 3 stars. Devilsaur Egg. Hey, Nerubian Egg came back. A 3 mana 0/3 with Death Rattle. Summon a 5/5 Devilsaur. Now, this actually has a lot of top end. In Arena, there are so many ways to activate this, right? If you are a Warlock, you can activate this. If you're a Paladin, buff this up. If you have an Abusive or Dark Iron or any attack buffs, even Crazed Alchemist and the Kooky Chemist can activate this. Yup, 3 mana 5/5s you definitely want to play. This is for sure a 4 mana card. For sure. 3 mana 4/8 Humongous Razor Leaf. Wow, 3 mana 4/8. What's the catch? Can attack? 0 stars. 3 mana 1/4 Stonehill Defender with Taunt. With Battlecry, discover a taunt minion. Wow, how far Silverback Patriarch has gone. Oh my god, you actually get to draw a card. So not only are you playing a 3 mana 1/4 taunt, which is albeit pretty bad, right? You get to staple a I Know a Guy on top of this, and that is really good. 3 mana 1/4 draw a card. Yeah, I'll take that. 3 mana 1/4 taunt, draw a card. Yeah, I'll take that. 3 mana 1/4 discover a taunt minion. Please get in my deck. 4 stars. Vicious Fledgling is a 3 mana 3/3 with. After this minion attacks a hero, adapt. What this actually says is 3 mana 3/3. If this lives, win the game. I will explain why. 3 mana 3/3. You play that. Okay, sure. Okay, cool. Your opponent plays their 4/3 or whatever. You attack face, adapt, Wind Fury. You attack face, adapt, get health or get Divine Shield. Now you got a 3 mana 3/6 Wind Fury. Or Wind Fury, Divine Shield, or Wind Fury Taunt. And if your opponent doesn't remove that, well, just do it again. Adapt, adapt, adapt. 4 stars. Tovir Stone Shaper is a 4 mana 3/5. Tovir, Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, become a Soon Walker. That's pretty good. So if you actually get this card, I would actually build around it. You would actually just pick this 4-star card and then start drafting elementals. So the bad elementals that are rated bad, well, you actually want to make this card good, right? So yeah, this is good. 4 stars. Servant of Kalimos, 5 mana, 4/5 battle cry. If you played an elemental last turn, you get to discover an elemental. So and it's an elemental itself. So it's basically the gorilla bot of this set. But it's a 5 mana 4/5. A 5 mana 4/5 is actually not too bad, right? It's only 1 stat line away from being a 5 mana 5/5, and the plus side is so damn high, right? You actually get elemental, legendaries. If you're playing shaman, wow, Alakir. I'll take one of those. Fire elemental. Ooh, I'll take one of those. Really insane in shaman. I think, but then at the same time, it's insane in any deck that can trigger this, right? So I think this is 4 stars. Like, it's a really good card. Frozen Crusher, 6 mana, 8/8. After this minion attacks, you have to freeze it. So it only attacks every other turn. So it's like a reverse Wind Fury, I guess. It's like a slow Fury or Wind Kindness, not Wind Fury, but Wind Kind, I guess. That's a bit weird. It's still a 6 mana 8/8, so it does match up really well against your Bodifist Ogres and whatnot, and your opponent does have to deal with it. So I'd say this is a 3-star card. It's actually playable. I don't think you want to silence this or anything. You want to silence your opponent's minions usually, but yeah, your opponent still has to deal with it. So yeah, it's okay. Volcanosaur, 6/7 mana, 5/6 with adapt and 8 adapt. So adapt is usually 3 stat points. So if you adapt and adapt with attack and health, you actually get a 7 mana 8/9. And I argue that it's actually better than a 7 mana 8/9 because sometimes you really need that Wind Fury. Sometimes you really need to, end the game with stealth and Wind Fury. Sometimes you just need to do stuff, and it's the definition of versatility, right? So I would just pick this card whenever it's offered to me. 4 stars. Emerald Hive Queen is a 1 mana 2/3. What more do I need to say with the Zombie Chow? Well, your minions actually cost 2 more. So it's kind of like a mana wave that only affects yourself. But it is a 1 mana 2/3. Now that is pretty good. There is a little bit of a skill associated with playing this card. So for example, if you have a 1-drop and a 2-drop, you do not want to play this 1-drop because you then can't really play your 2-drop. Usually you want to weave this in with something else, so you actually kind of cheating the curve, which is kind of sick. If you're playing Hunter, sure, you can just play a 1 mana 2/3. I think it's fine. So this card is okay. You do have to think a bit with this card, but you are going to get rewarded if you can play this correctly. So 3-star card. A Glutinous Ooze, 3 mana 3/3. Destroy your opponent's weapon and some flavor text. No, I want to play Acidic Swamp Ooze instead. If there's gonna be a meta with a lot of weapons, then maybe this is good. But I don't know. Like, destroy your opponent's weapon as a 3 mana 3/3 is not that good. So yeah, I mean, yeah, 2 stars.
I can ease you.
Bright-Eyed Scout. Now that is an exciting freaking card. 4 mana 3/4 with Battle Cry. Draw a card and change its cost to 5. So Gnomish Inventor just grown up, man. Look at that. Look at that card. Are you guys not looking at this card? 4 mana 3/4 draw a card. Okay, that's good already. You change its cost to 5, so no matter what, it's playable. Sometimes you get wrecked by it, sometimes your Pirate Shield becomes 5 mana, low. Sometimes your 3/2 gets to change to 5 mana, low. But you still draw the card, whereas otherwise you wouldn't have drawn it, right? Here's the crazy part, right? Say you drafted a 9 mana card. You get to play this on turn 5? What? This is a 5-star card. This is actually just insane, not so baller. Give me every single one of these cards. Wowzas. Okay? This card is gonna be insane. Next we have the Gentle Megasaur. Oh, sorry. Next we have the Gentle Megasaur. 4 mana 5/4 with Battlecry. Adapt your Murlocs. What? Adapt your Murlocs? Okay. It's still a 4 mana 5/4 though, so minimum is a 3-star card. And with Adapt Your Murlocs, it's a little bit weird. I don't think it's gonna work that often, and if it does work, then okay, it's just a little bit of a buff. I mean, it's okay. 3 stars. Bitter Tide Hydra, 5 mana 8/8. Whenever this minion takes damage, deal 3 damage to your hero as a beast. Let me rephrase this. 5 mana 8/8. When your opponent plays Avenging Wrath, Oh god, you're screwed. So, yeah. Anyways, it's a 5 mana 8/8. 5 mana 8/8s are usually really good. It has to have a very significant downside for it to be bad. So, like, Fel Reaver was an insane card in Arena. Is this insane? Well, the downside is actually there because your opponent can actually, hit this for 1 damage and actually deal a lot of damage to your face. But if your opponent is a normal Arena player, normal being drafting 3/2s, drafting 4/5s, and whatnot, usually you're only going to take around 6 to 9 damage for this. And you get a 5 mana 8/8. And when you get a 5 mana 8/8, you probably want to go face. So I think this is actually fine. I'm going to rate this 4 stars. I'm going to be pretty happy with playing this card. And obviously it's a bit better with classes that can heal themselves, such as Priest, Shaman, and Paladin. Blaze color. Did someone order Firelance Portal on steroids? 7 mana 6/6. Battlecry, if you played an elemental last turn, you get to deal 5 damage. So if you played an elemental, you get to cast Firelance Portal with any class, right? Keep in mind that this 5 damage can also deal 2 damage to the face. And that elemental synergy doesn't seem like it's that hard to draft in Arena, for sure. Because not only are we getting a lot of new elementals, the new set cards also get a drafting bonus of 50%. So you're gonna see them more often as well. So with all those new mechanics, I think this is just gonna be a great card. I think this is just 4 stars. You're gonna pick this if you're gonna pick this. The only thing that's keeping this away from 5 stars is because sometimes, drafting is drafting. Sometimes you just get unlucky and not get a lot of elementals. But yeah, very, very good. Charged Devilsaur. 8 mana 7/7 charge! I can't go face. Battlecry can't attack heroes this turn. Why would I want to play a card if it doesn't go face? Bad card. Nah, I'm just joking. This is actually really good. It's an 8 mana, deal 7 damage to a minion, and it has less attack, then summon the difference with a 7 attack creature. So this is actually pretty sweet, right? You actually play this, you kill a 4/6, and you're left with a 7/3, and that's pretty strong, right? I think this is a very strong card. I rate this 4 stars. You really want these kind of effects. Remove something, make a minion. Primordial Drake, 8 mana 4/8, the only dragon in Goro as taunt, and as Battlecry, deal 2 damage to all other minions. So it's kind of like a neutral Abyssal Enforcer with taunt, so it's pretty relevant, and it has less attack for more health, and it's a dragon. So I think this is just really sweet. You do not pass AoE in Arena, that's always a thing, and the body is also very respectable. So I think this is just 4 stars. It's really good. It casts a free consecration, and you get to actually control the consecration. You know what? I take that back. I'm gonna pick this at 5 stars. Consecration is really good. Volcanic Potion is really good. 4/8 taunt, that's also really good. Nah, this is 5 stars for sure. Tortolan Primalist, 8 mana 5/4 with Battlecry. Discover a spell and cast it random targets. Now, I argued that Servant of Yasuran in Arena is actually insane. Right? Servant of Yasuran is 5 mana 5/4 to cast a random spell on random targets. But then if you look at all the spells, a lot of them are actually just strictly beneficial for you, right? The 2 groups are secrets. Secret will always benefit you. And then the second group is draw cards. You always draw the cards. Like if you cast Nourish, your opponent's not going to suddenly draw cards, right? So this is actually better than you think, because you also get to discover it. Obviously, you do not want to choose fireballs or anything that can be bad on the board, but Flame Strike obviously only affects your opponent's board. And once again, this is also class dependent because you're discovering your own class's spells. You're not discovering a Flame Strike if you're a priest, for example. So this card will be better in some classes than others, but this is a good card. 4 stars. Alright, finally, we have the neutral legendaries. First, we have Spirit Singer Umbra! 4 mana 3/4 with, after you summon a minion, trigger its Death Rattle effect. Very similar to Bran, where, it rewards you if you play more of a specific type of minion. But you are playing Arena, and the fact that you are not going to be swarming with Death Rattle effects is a major concern. And 4 mana 3/4 is actually, a big downside to this. You're actually paying a reasonable stat line, and it's not going to be trading against, your 3/5s and your 4/5s and your 4/4s effectively, right? So I'm just going to give this, a 1 star. You probably don't want to see this in Arena. You probably just want something that's an actual good card. Next we have the Vorax, 4 mana 3/3 that looks really ugly. Look at that thing. What the heck is that? After you cast a spell on this minion, you summon a 1/1 plant, and you cast a copy on it. So for example, if you're Blessing on King's It, then wow, yowzas. That's an 8 mana for a 7/7 and a 5/5, and then you keep on going. Obviously, this is better in some classes than others, but once again, it is Arena. You know, you're not gonna get your buff cards that often. Otherwise, Ginny of Zephyrs would be insane. It's not insane, right? You're usually playing Ginny as a 5 mana 4/6 anyways, and this is even worse than Umbra because it's a 4 mana 3/3, right? So 1-star card, probably not going to make your deck. Okay, talk about insane. Elise the Trailblazer. Now, if you open this in draft, then oh God save you, because you just open a 5 mana 5/5, no stat penalty, right? And then Battlecry, you shuffle a sealed Ungoro pack into your deck, which is a 2 mana open in Ungoro pack, and then add all of those cards into your hand. So 2 mana, draw 5, and there was also a confirmation that this Ungoro pack is actually rigged. So it has actually a minimum, at worst, 1 epic, and average 1 legendary. So it's not a real Ungoro pack. A dev actually came out and said that. So it's actually teasing you to buy more Ungoro packs. So it's like, oh my God, I got such a good Ungoro pack. I'm gonna buy more cards or something like that. But right? Yeah. But anyways, my point is this card is just gonna win you the game. This card is actually just gonna win you the game when you cast this, because it's a 5 mana 5/5. You're not paying any downside, and then you get a 2 mana draw 5. How does your opponent beat a 2 mana draw 5? And you might get Elise again, because on average you get 1 legendary, and you only get Ungoro legendaries. So the chance of that happening is insane. This is absurd. This is my pick for the best arena card in Ungoro. 6 stars. I only give out 1 6 stars in each of my analysis and compendiums, and at least the Trailblazer, you just took the cake. Next, we have Hemet the Jungle Hunter, 6 mana 6/6 with Battlecry. Destroy all cards in your deck that cost 3 or less. So what it's trying to do is make all your cards, you know, make all your draws really, really good late game. But I'd argue that late game, you actually want a good mix between high mana cards and low mana cards, right? You sometimes want to play a 7-drop with the 3-drop, right? You want to play 2 2-drops with your 6-drop. And, well, Hemet just say, nope, big cards only. Nope. And playing 1 card a turn is not how you win the game. So I don't think this is that good. A 6 mana 6/6 is still respectable, so it's 3 stars. But the Battlecry, I mean, it's good and bad. I don't think it's strictly good. Finally, we have Osrock. It's a 9 mana 5/5 elemental taunt with Battlecry. Gain +5 health for each elemental you played last turn. How many elementals are you gonna play in Arena last turn to set this up and have this all in your hand and not have and have your draft be all elementals? Okay, say the stars align. Polymorph, Hex, removal, silence. Silence is actually a big concern in Arena, right? 1 star. And there you go. That concludes our Arena Compendium. It's looking like Hunter's got some really, really good cards, especially in Common and Epic. So I expect Hunters to do pretty well. Mage is going to be pretty insane with Primordial Cliff, obviously. And Priest has some really good cards as well. Priest, you know, dragons are going to be rotating out, so that's a problem. And yeah, well, that was a long segment. Oh my God, that took a while. But hey, thanks for watching the Arena Compendium, guys. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and, you know, comment below and tell me what you think of the cards, what you guys are most excited to see in Arena, what class you guys are most excited to draft. And yeah, because we're going to have a constructed compendium as well, so you guys want to be notified when I release that. And of course, the card ratings for some cards are going to be wildly different from constructed to Arena. So from yours truly, Amaz'S the Arena Master, thanks for watching this long video, and we'll see you in the constructed compendium.